Welcome back, warriors. If you've been here before, you already know the power of the GrimFace Movement. And if this is your first time, take a seat, because you're about to learn what it truly means to reclaim your power, your discipline, and your honor. Thank you for returning, for showing up, for choosing to embrace the darkness and forge yourself into something unbreakable. Your commitment to the path of transformation, of self-discipline and accountability, is what will set you apart from the weak, the complacent, the lost. But for those of you new to the movement, now is the time to join us. Now is the time to stop making excuses, to stop blaming the world, to stop running from responsibility. The world doesn't need more followers. It needs leaders, people who are willing to walk through the fire, to face their fears head-on, and to restore the values that once defined greatness: self-discipline, self-accountability, and honor. We are not here to blend in with the masses. We are here to change the world, one mind, one soul, one life at a time. The GrimFace Movement is about taking full control of who you are and who you will become. It's about rejecting mediocrity and embracing the dark power of self-mastery. Together, we will restore what has been lost. Together, we will raise the standards. Together, we will bring honor back to the human race. Are you ready? Then stand with us, fight with us, and let's make the world tremble at the sound of our steps. The time for weakness is over. The GrimFace Movement is here, and we're just getting started. Lesson 1. Challenge conformity. In the dead of night, when the world is silent, the rebels whisper to themselves in solitude, "Who am I? What is my true nature?" From the beginning of time, those who challenge conformity have been the ones to change the world, even as others clung to their chains. They were the outcasts, the misfits, the ones who dared to question when everyone else bowed their heads in obedience. Their minds were their greatest weapons, and their hearts, their most dangerous traitors. In ancient Greece, there was a philosopher named Diogenes. He lived in a barrel, shunned by the society he refused to serve. He mocked the rules of Athens, a city ruled by its false sense of superiority, and dared to live according to his own laws. He walked through the streets at noon with a lamp, claiming to be searching for an honest man. He was ridiculed, but he remained steadfast. He refused to conform, even if it meant rejection. The story of Diogenes is a lesson for all of us who fear the judgment of others. True greatness is never born from obedience, but from rebellion against the norm. Diogenes knew that in order to break free from the chains of society, he had to first break free from the chains within himself. Only in the deepest recesses of his soul did he discover the most powerful truth of all. The only truth that matters is the one you dare to believe in. Look back to the desert sands of Egypt, where the pharaohs ruled as gods, and the people were mere shadows of their will. There was one, a lowly slave, named Moses, who did not bow to the chains of tyranny. He spoke with fire in his eyes, daring to lead the enslaved out of their oppression. He heard the whispers of his ancestors, voices not shaped by law, but by a higher call. Moses challenged the conformity of a system that had held his people in darkness for generations. He did not question the Pharaoh for the sake of argument. He questioned the very foundation of everything the pharaohs stood for, and that act of defiance shattered the world. It was not the pharaohs who were great, but the ones who refused to be led by them. The rebels, the outcasts, the ones who dared to question the very fabric of their reality. They are the ones who shape the world from the ashes of the old. But let me warn you, challenging conformity is not for the faint-hearted. You will face the fire. You will walk the razor's edge. You will feel the weight of judgment from every corner of society. But remember this, the rebels are never remembered for their comfort. They are remembered for the courage to stand alone, for the wisdom to question, and for the strength to persist when all others fall in line. And in the end, when the history books are written, they will speak not of the masses, but of those few who dared to live outside the boundaries. They will speak of you. So I ask you, what are you willing to sacrifice for your own truth? Will you remain in the shadows of conformity, or will you burn brightly, like Diogenes, laughing in the face of societal chains, or like Moses, walking into the unknown to free your mind? The question is not whether you will challenge conformity. It's whether you will dare to face the fire of your own awakening. And when you do, remember this: the greatest rebellion is not against the world, but against the fear that keeps you locked inside yourself. Lesson 2. Develop independent thinking. In the vast empty void of space, where stars are born and die in silence, there is no one to tell you what to think. There is no voice but your own. An endless echo, a pulse, a single thought stretching across the infinite darkness. Think for yourself, or remain lost in the void. For centuries, humanity has stumbled in the shadow of giants, blindly following their footsteps, mimicking their voices. But the ones who truly lived were not the ones who parroted the words of those who came before them. No, the ones who lived were the ones who learned to speak their own truth. Imagine a bird, born into a world of endless sky, yet chained to the ground by invisible threads of conformity. The world tells it, you must fly in a pattern, follow the flock, obey the wind, and never stray from the path. Yet in the deepest recesses of its soul, it dreams of soaring beyond the limits, of breaking the chains that bind it to a world of mindless repetition. That bird is you. But to break free from those chains requires more than instinct. It requires independent thought. The world has no shortage of voices, all claiming to hold the truth. Like 1,000 mirrors in a darkened room, they reflect the same distorted image, trapping you in a cycle of confusion. To think for yourself is to shatter those mirrors, to cast aside the false reflections and see the raw, unfiltered reality. There was a time when the world believed the earth was flat, when the moon was thought to be a mere reflection of the sun's light. And yet, there was one, a single man, Galileo, who dared to speak against the madness. His thoughts were like the first stone cast into a stagnant pond, disturbing the waters, rippling out into the centuries, causing waves of revolution in the minds of men. The system wanted him to bow, to obey the voices of the time. But Galileo did not. He trusted the voice of his own mind, even when it led him into darkness, even when the world mocked him and branded him a heretic. He understood, to follow is to be trapped. To lead is to break free. Do you have the courage to step away from the noise? Can you find the courage to sit in silence and listen to the only voice that matters? Your own? Imagine a forest, dense with trees, each one reaching for the sky, striving for the light. Some trees grow tall and proud, others twisted and crooked, but all are in competition for the same space, to survive, to be seen. But in the middle of the forest is a single rock. It doesn't bend to the will of the wind. It doesn't fight for space. It simply exists, rooted in its own truth. The rock does not follow the trees. It is the one that shapes the ground beneath them. It is independent in a way the trees can never be. This is what independent thinking gives you: the ability to shape the ground beneath you, to carve your own path in a world that seeks to entangle you with its roots. But beware, the path of independent thought is not an easy one. You will face resistance. Like a lone wolf in a pack of sheep, you will find yourself hunted, chased by the wolves of conformity. But remember this: wolves never hunt alone. Those who think independently, who walk alone, become legends, not because they seek glory, but because they remain true to their nature, undisturbed by the howls of the herd. If you dare to think for yourself, you will become the storm that tears down the walls of this world's cages. You will become the lightning that strikes the sky when others cower in darkness. The truth will come from you, not from the crowd. So now I ask you, will you remain bound by the voices of others, or will you rise like that bird, that rock, that lone wolf, and create your own echo in the void? To think for yourself is to take the first step into the unknown. It is to blaze a trail in the darkness, not because it's easy, but because your mind demands it. Lesson 3. Take full responsibility for your life. In the labyrinth of your existence, there are no maps. There are no guides to show you the way. Only walls, twisting corridors, and a single flickering flame that is your will to survive. The world does not owe you answers. Life will not hand you the key to unlock its mysteries. The choices you make will be yours alone, and the consequences will be your burden to bear. But that burden? It is your power. For most, the easy path is to blame others. Blame the circumstances. Blame fate. Blame the broken world. It is a path well worn, a familiar road paved with excuses. But the rebel, the one who dares to break free, knows that blame is the soul's prison. Picture yourself standing at the foot of a great mountain, the summit hidden in the mist. The mountain has no mercy. The path is treacherous. The rocks are sharp, and the wind cuts deep. You could turn back. You could say, the mountain is too high. The storm is too fierce. It's not my fault. But that would be your surrender. The true rebel looks at the mountain and says, I will climb, even if I must crawl on my hands and knees, even if the wind tears at my skin, even if the path is made of jagged stone. I will take responsibility for my own ascent. Your ascent is your responsibility. The world will not hand you a smooth path. It will not clear the way for you. But every step you take, even the missteps, the failures, the stumbles, they are yours to claim. They are the fires in which your soul is forged. And when you reach the summit, you will know that the climb, the struggle, and the pain were not imposed on you by the world. They were the choices you made. Your life is not a series of random events dictated by forces beyond your control. It is a creation of your choices. You may not have chosen the beginning, but you control the end. You control every action, every thought, every decision you make. The world is indifferent to your suffering, to your pain, to your struggles. But that indifference is not weakness. It is strength. You are the creator of your own fate. Look to the darkest corners of history, and you will find that every great individual, the ones who shaped the world, were not the ones who escaped their burdens. They were the ones who embraced them. They carried their responsibilities like a sword, cutting through the chaos of life, forging their destiny one calculated strike at a time. There is no hero who was not first a villain in their own story. There is no success without failure, no triumph without struggle. But the key is to accept that struggle as your own, not something inflicted upon you. Imagine an ancient warrior, standing alone in the battlefield, surrounded by the carnage of war. The enemy closes in from all sides, the blood of comrades and enemies alike staining the earth beneath his feet. He is injured, exhausted, and yet he does not blame the battlefield. He does not blame the war. He does not curse the gods or the soldiers who betrayed him. He stands tall because he knows that in this moment, he is the only one who can control his fate. You are that warrior. So, what will you do with the responsibility of your life? Will you stand in the shadows and allow your fate to be written by others? Or will you rise, take full control, and carve a path of your own choosing, no matter how steep, no matter how dark. The power to shape your life lies within you. Own it. Master it. And when you reach the end of your journey, you will look back and know that every step, every decision was yours. The mountain, the storm, the battlefield, they were never obstacles. They were your tools. Now go and build your legacy. Lesson 4. Reject mediocrity. In the quiet abyss of existence, there lies a choice that will shape the very marrow of your soul. To rise above the muck, or to settle into the swamp, where the lazy shadows of mediocrity drag you under. Mediocrity is a quiet killer, a slow poison that creeps into your veins when you stop striving, when you accept the world as it is, instead of demanding it be the way you want it. It is not the violent strike of failure that destroys you, but the creeping, insidious surrender to good enough. The moment you settle for good enough is the moment you've already lost. Mediocrity is the choice to blend in, to remain invisible. It is the choice to stay in the shadows, where the light of your potential can't touch you. It whispers in your ear that you are fine the way you are, that you don't need to push, to strive, to reach further. It tells you that perfection is unattainable, that greatness is for the chosen few, not for someone like you. And in that lie, it binds you. But you were never meant to be ordinary. Remember the story of the phoenix. Born from the ashes of its predecessor, the phoenix rises, reborn and resplendent. Each time it burns, it is transformed, not destroyed. It rejects the mundane cycle of existence and ascends to greatness again and again. The phoenix does not settle for a single life. It craves transformation, craves something greater than the ordinary cycle of birth, life, and death. It challenges the very nature of what it means to exist. You too are meant to rise. But to do so, you must scorch the earth beneath you and burn away everything that keeps you rooted in the soil of mediocrity. In the ancient temples of Egypt, there was a ritual, a test of strength that only the worthy could endure. The chosen warriors would be thrown into the desert to survive alone for days, sometimes weeks, with nothing but their will to carry them forward. The heat of the sun, the crushing weight of the sand, the solitude, they were all tools of transformation. Each challenge a stone that would either forge them into something greater or break them into dust. Those who returned, bloodied, sun-scorched, and on the edge of death, were not the ones who sought comfort. They were the ones who refused to stop. They refused to bow to the pressure of mediocrity. They understood that true strength is born in the fire, not in the shade. You must walk that same path. The world will beg you to stop. The voices of the comfortable, of the obedient, will whisper to you that there's no need to push yourself beyond the limits. Don't go further. Don't try harder. Stay here with us, where it's safe. But what do you think happens when you listen to those voices? You rot. You fade into the background, a ghost among the living, a shadow among the stars. And in the end, you will die just as quietly as you lived, forgotten. The true test is not how far you can go, but whether you're willing to push the boundaries of who you are. To reject mediocrity is to accept that you are meant for more. More pain, more struggle, more sacrifice. But in the struggle, in the endless striving, you will find your true strength. Remember this: the mediocre live for comfort, the great live for challenge. If you are content with good enough, you have already sealed your fate. But if you dare to be exceptional, to embrace the fire that will forge you, you will become something untouchable, something that transcends time, something that cannot be erased. So ask yourself, are you ready to rise? Or will you let mediocrity consume you? The world waits for no one. The phoenix waits for no one, and neither should you. Lesson 5. Embrace your dark side. In the deepest recesses of your soul, there is a shadow, a force that stirs in the silence, a presence that has always been there, lurking in the corners of your mind, waiting for the moment when you finally accept it. This is your dark side. It is the part of you that the world tells you to ignore, to suppress, to hide behind the mask of virtue and righteousness. The world wants you to be good, to be light, to conform to its narrow vision of who you should be. But the truth is, it is the darkness within you that holds the power, the true power to break free from the chains that bind you. You have been told your whole life that to be good is to reject the darkness. You have been told that to rise, you must cast aside everything that feels wrong, everything that makes you uncomfortable, everything that doesn't fit into the perfect image of success and morality. But that is a lie. The darkness does not corrupt you. It is part of you. The same fire that creates life also destroys it. The same power that can create is the one that can tear everything down. And that power is within you. The great warriors of old did not rise from the light. They rose from the shadows. The samurai, for example, were not just men of honor and discipline. They were trained to wield the darkness within them, to harness the anger, the rage, and the fear that others sought to suppress. They knew that without the dark, there was no light. Without chaos, there was no order. One of the greatest warriors in history, the ruthless Alexander the Great, understood this. He conquered the known world, not because he was a benevolent ruler, but because he was willing to face the darkness inside him. He was a man of extremes, part lover, part destroyer, a man whose own darkness fueled his unstoppable rise. He embraced the chaos of his nature and used it to carve his name into the annals of history. In the ancient myth of the Minotaur, a monstrous creature trapped in the labyrinth, there is a powerful lesson. The hero Theseus did not simply seek to kill the beast. He ventured into the labyrinth to face it head-on. He knew that to conquer the monster, he first had to confront the darkness within himself. The fear, the doubt, the primal instinct to run. Only by accepting the darkness could he truly master it. In the same way, you must confront your own inner monster. It is not enough to fight against it, to suppress it, or to pretend it does not exist. You must accept it, claim it as your own, and use it as a source of strength. The rage, the jealousy, the envy, the fear, they are not weaknesses. They are the fuel for your fire. Look into the abyss of your soul, and you will see your darkest thoughts, your most savage impulses. But here's the truth. The abyss does not devour you. It makes you stronger. Only when you accept your darkness will you truly be free. Only then will you understand the true depth of your potential. There is no true freedom without embracing both light and dark. The tree that reaches toward the sky also sinks its roots into the earth, into the darkness below. Without the dark, there is no foundation, no strength to stand tall in the light. So, ask yourself, are you afraid of your darkness? Or will you stand tall, knowing that it is your shadow that gives you the power to break free from the lies the world has told you? Embrace it, own it, harness it, and let it be the force that propels you into the realm where true power lies. Beyond the good, beyond the light, beyond the illusions of a perfect world. Only then will you realize the darkness is not your enemy. It is your greatest ally. Lesson 6. Never fear pain or sacrifice. Pain is a teacher, unforgiving, relentless, and raw. It is the blade that cuts deep, the fire that burns through your flesh, the storm that tears apart everything you thought you knew. And it is the only path to greatness. The world tells you to avoid pain, to seek comfort and ease, to protect yourself from suffering at all costs. It tells you that pain is a weakness, something to be feared and avoided. But the truth is far darker. Pain is not a curse. It is a gift. It is the price of power, of transformation, of becoming something greater than you are. If you fear pain, you fear life itself. There is no hero, no conqueror, no legend who was not forged in the fires of pain. They did not rise because the road was easy. They rose because they were willing to walk through the flames, to embrace the suffering, to pay the price that no one else would pay. The weak cower from pain, but the strong welcome it. They understand that pain is the hammer that shapes the soul. Think of the blacksmith, standing before the furnace, the fire that burns so hot it seems impossible to bear. The metal is nothing but a lump of useless ore until it is thrust into the heat. Only by enduring the flames can it be shaped into something powerful, something indestructible. And you are that metal. The trials, the heartache, the failures, they are the furnace that will shape you. Every cut, every bruise, every tear that stains your skin is another layer of the weapon you are becoming. You cannot be forged without the fire. There was a warrior, Hercules, who faced the 12 labors, each one more brutal than the last. And with each labor, he was pushed to his limits, forced to endure suffering that would break any mortal. Yet he did not falter. He did not shrink from the pain, the sacrifice, the loss. Instead, he embraced it. He understood that through suffering, he became a god. Your own life is filled with labors, obstacles, trials that seem impossible to overcome. And the world will tell you to find an easier way, to avoid the discomfort, to take shortcuts. But the shortcut is the path to mediocrity. The shortcut leads to a life that is safe, yes, but ultimately hollow, empty, and forgotten. If you truly want to rise, to ascend above the masses, you must embrace the sacrifice. You must be willing to give everything, to lose everything, to face the agony of every step toward your goals. You must understand that sacrifice is the currency of greatness. Look to the ancient gods, those beings who controlled the elements and the fates of men. They did not gain their power by sitting idly on their thrones. Each of them sacrificed something to attain their dominion. Prometheus stole fire from the gods and gave it to man. But in doing so, he was chained to a rock, his liver devoured daily by an eagle. He paid the price for his defiance. But it was through that sacrifice that he changed the course of history. The reality is this: nothing worth having comes without pain. The body must be torn to be rebuilt. The heart must be broken to be made whole again. And the soul must endure suffering to reach its full potential. Do not run from your pain. Do not shrink from your sacrifices. Lean into them. Let them mold you, shape you, break you down, so that you can rise again. Stronger, sharper, more dangerous than ever before. Remember, the greatest warriors, the greatest minds, the greatest conquerors in history did not ask for an easy life. They asked for a life that would test them, challenge them, force them to go to the edge of their own humanity and beyond. And they paid the price. So, I ask you now, are you willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to face the pain head on, to let it tear you apart, so that you can rise from the ashes? Or will you retreat? Will you shrink back into the shadows, choosing comfort and mediocrity over the promise of greatness? The road ahead is paved with blood, sweat, and tears. But if you have the courage to walk it, you will emerge as something far beyond human, something eternal. Do not fear pain. Do not fear sacrifice. Embrace them and become the force the world will never forget. Lesson 7. Discard the illusions of safety and comfort. Comfort is a prison, and safety is its guard. They offer you warmth. They offer you ease. But they also offer you death, the slow, quiet death of a soul that chooses to never stretch beyond its boundaries. The world wraps you in a soft, false comfort, urging you to stay within its walls, to build your life on the foundation of security. But that security is a lie. It is the cage in which you are kept. It is the trap that keeps you small, keeps you stagnant, keeps you from ever truly living. You see, safety and comfort are not blessings. They are the chains that bind you to mediocrity. And the moment you choose them, you choose to remain invisible. You choose to be a spectator in your own life. Every great force in history, every conqueror, every revolutionary, every master of their craft, knew that the greatest threat to their power was not the obstacles in their path, but the comfort that tempted them to stop moving forward. They knew that to grow, to evolve, to conquer, they must live on the edge, outside the boundaries of what is safe. Consider the story of the great explorer, Sir Edmund Hillary, the first man to conquer Mount Everest. He did not stand at the base of the mountain and say, "This is too dangerous. This is too risky. I could die." No, he stepped forward, knowing full well the peril that lay ahead. The mountain was not a place of comfort. It was a place of cold, of pain, of the unknown. But it was there, in that place of danger, that Hillary found true greatness. He rejected the illusion of safety, choosing instead to face the raw, unfiltered power of the mountain. You too are standing at the base of your own Everest. You have the choice to stay where you are, safe, secure, warm. Or you can choose to climb, to risk everything, to cast aside the illusions that have kept you tethered to a life of complacency. But know this, there is no greatness in comfort. There is no power in staying still. If you wish to ascend, you must first be willing to step into the storm. In ancient Rome, the gladiators were often forced to fight, not just for their lives, but for their honor, for their freedom, and for their very souls. They stepped into the arena, knowing that death could come at any moment, but they chose to fight. They chose to live outside the cage of comfort, outside the walls of safety, and in doing so, they became legends. Safety and comfort are illusions that promise only stagnation. They tell you that you will be okay if you don't try, if you don't risk, if you don't push. But they are lies. In truth, you will never be okay if you remain in them. You will never be fulfilled, never be satisfied. You will never truly live. Look at the history of those who have changed the world. The great thinkers, the warriors, the rebels. They did not rise by playing it safe. They rose by rejecting the comfort of the ordinary, by stepping into the unknown, by embracing the pain and the danger that come with reaching for something greater than themselves. Comfort is the death of greatness. So, stop waiting for the perfect moment to take the leap. Stop waiting for the world to hand you an easy path. The world will not make it easy for you, and it should not. The only way to truly live is to embrace the discomfort, the risk, the chaos. Your power is in the struggle. Your power is in the challenge. Your power is in the moments when you look at the abyss, at the darkness, and choose to step forward, knowing that the only thing that can stop you is your own refusal to face the truth. The truth is this: safety is your cage. Comfort is your death. And only by discarding them can you become what you are truly meant to be. Will you remain in the cage, or will you step into the storm? Will you choose the warmth of mediocrity, or will you choose the fire of greatness? The choice is yours. But remember, comfort will never give you the life you seek. Only discomfort, only risk, only embracing the unknown will grant you the freedom to rise. Lesson 8. Master the art of being unseen. There is power in silence. There is power in the shadows. And there is power in being unseen. The world expects you to shout your presence to the heavens, to demand attention, to be louder, bolder, and more visible than the masses. It tells you that if you're not seen, if you're not constantly performing, constantly putting yourself on display, then you're invisible, irrelevant, and weak. But what the world fails to understand is that power is often born from being hidden. There is a darkness in being unseen, and that darkness is where true strength is forged. To be unseen is not to be powerless. It is to be untouchable. To move in silence, to operate from the shadows, is the ultimate form of mastery. When you are unseen, you control the game from the edges, watching, observing, and choosing when to strike. Consider the ancient assassins, the shadowy figures who moved in silence, unnoticed, and yet held the power to change the course of history with a single, calculated move. The ninja, the masters of stealth and patience, did not announce their presence. They did not make grand gestures or loud speeches. Instead, they moved like ghosts, slipping through the cracks of society, gathering information, waiting for the right moment. In silence, they mastered everything. In their patience, they cultivated power. Their very anonymity was their greatest weapon, for no one knew where the blow would come from, or when. They were always 2 steps ahead, and in that quiet, hidden space, they could shape the world according to their will. In the same way, you must learn to wield the power of being unseen. Stop trying to fit into the world's narrative of constant visibility, of validation, of attention. Step back, observe, move strategically, not impulsively. In your silence, you will see what others cannot. There is strength in the unnoticed. The great warriors of history, the true masters of their craft, did not waste their energy on unnecessary displays. The legendary Spartan warriors, for example, did not parade their strength. They did not boast of their victories. They focused on what mattered: their craft, their discipline, their strategy. They were not there to seek the approval of others. They were there to dominate in silence. It is the same for you. You must learn to hide in plain sight. Be the calm in the storm, the presence that everyone overlooks until it is too late. The unseen master is the one who dictates the pace, who chooses when to act and when to stay still. Think of the spider, spinning its web in the dark corners of the room, unnoticed, yet always patient. It knows that in the stillness, in the silence, it can weave a trap so intricate, so well hidden, that no one can escape. And when it strikes with precision, with absolute control. You too can be the spider. You can weave your own path in the dark, learning to move with purpose, learning to wait for the right moment. In that stillness, you will gain the advantage that others will never see coming. The world cannot touch you when you are hidden, and when you rise from the shadows, it will not know what hit it. The truth is this: visibility is often the enemy of progress. When you expose yourself to the light, you make yourself vulnerable to attack. The loudest person in the room is often the weakest. They draw attention to themselves, but they also expose their weakness. You must learn to control your visibility. Use it when necessary, but always be aware of its limitations. Know when to step into the light and when to disappear into the darkness. Master the art of being unseen, and you will find a power unlike any other. So ask yourself, do you have the patience to be quiet, the wisdom to wait, the discipline to move without being noticed? If so, you will move in ways that others cannot comprehend, and in your silence, in your hidden power, you will rise. Lesson 9. Build your life like a fortress. In a world that seeks to tear you down, to strip away your strength, your will, your power, you must build yourself into a fortress. A fortress that stands against the storm, against the tide of doubt, against the forces that would break you. A fortress that no one can breach. You are not a delicate flower, subject to the whims of the winds and the seasons. You are not a mere bystander in this world. You are a warrior, and your life must be a fortress, solid and unyielding. The time for weakness is over. The time for vulnerability is gone. You must become impenetrable. But understand this: a fortress is not built in a day. It is constructed stone by stone, decision by decision, action by action. And each stone is laid with the understanding that it must endure the worst of what life can throw at it. The storms will come. The siege engines will appear. But if you have built your life like a fortress, you will stand tall when the world crumbles around you. Think of the ancient fortresses, the castles that dotted the lands of the old world. They were not built for beauty. They were built for survival. Every wall was thick, every tower tall, every gate reinforced. They were designed to withstand attacks, to hold out against enemies, to protect what was most valuable. Your mind, your body, your spirit, they must be built in the same way. The walls of your life must be unbreakable. You must fortify your mind against the lies of the world, the whispers of doubt that seek to tear you down. You must build strength into every thought, every belief, every action. No more weakness. No more letting the world dictate your worth. Build yourself like stone, unyielding, unshakable. Consider the Great Wall of China, a marvel of human engineering. It stretches over 13,000 miles. It was not just a wall, it was a statement. It said to any would-be invader, "You will not pass here. You will not break through this wall." And just like that wall, your fortress must make the same statement to the world. You will not break me. The invaders, the doubters, the fears, they will come. And when they do, your fortress will hold. The world will try to tear you down, to undermine your strength, to chip away at your confidence. But like the walls of an ancient castle, you must stand firm. You must endure. A fortress is not built to be flexible. It is built to be strong, unyielding, and unshakable. Do not allow yourself to bend in the face of adversity. Do not let the world decide what you can or cannot do. Build yourself to resist, to persist, to fight back. Each challenge, each hardship, should serve as another brick in your wall, another layer of your strength. Look to the knights of old, men who fought for honor, for glory, and for survival. They did not enter the battlefield without armor, without the protection of their fortresses. Their strength was in their preparation. They did not simply react to the world around them. They built their lives with purpose, with the understanding that every battle required strength, courage, and resilience. You too must prepare for battle. Your life must be a fortress that cannot be breached. The foundation of your self-worth must be solid, unshaken by the opinions of others. Your values must be like iron bars, strong and immovable. Your will must be a tower, standing tall above the chaos of the world, unbroken by the winds of doubt. You are the architect of your fortress. It is your responsibility to build it. It is your responsibility to reinforce it, to ensure that it stands firm, no matter what comes your way. If you wish to rise above the masses, to break free from the chaos, you must create a life that cannot be destroyed. A life that is fortified from the inside out. No more weakness. No more hesitation. Build your life like a fortress, unbreakable, indestructible, and unyielding. And when the world comes to challenge you, you will stand tall, like a stone wall in the storm, knowing that nothing and no one can ever bring you down. Lesson 10. The only path forward is through. There is no retreat. There is no turning back. The only way forward is through the storm, through the suffering, through the darkness. To stand still is to surrender. To falter is to die. In life, there will always be obstacles. There will always be challenges, storms that rage and threaten to swallow you whole. The world will push you to the edge, to the brink of despair, to the point where you question everything. And in those moments, when it feels like the weight of it all is too much, you will hear a voice, the voice of fear, of weakness, of surrender. It will whisper, "Turn back. Go the other way. Save yourself." But that voice is the voice of your undoing. It is the voice that wants to keep you small, to keep you safe, to keep you in the shadows. It is the voice of defeat, and you must silence it. The path to greatness is not a gentle walk through the meadows. It is a brutal, unforgiving march through the storm. There is no escape. There is no easy way out. There is only one way forward, and that is through the heart of the darkness, through the pain, through the fear, through the unknown. You are not meant to take the path of least resistance. You are meant to forge your own path, to walk through the fire and emerge stronger than before. The fire will burn, it will scorch you, it will leave you scarred. But in those scars lies your strength. In that fire lies your transformation. Think of the blacksmith who hammers the molten metal, pounding it into shape. Each strike brings pain, but each strike also brings perfection. The metal is weakened, shaped, refined, until it is strong enough to hold the sharp edge of a sword. You are that metal. Every blow, every trial, every moment of suffering is shaping you into something more than what you were before. The great conquerors of history understood this principle. Alexander the Great did not retreat at the first sign of battle. He did not turn back when the challenges seemed insurmountable. He marched forward, step by grueling step, even when his men were weary, even when the enemy was formidable, even when it seemed as though the world itself was against him. He knew that the only path to victory was through. He knew that the battlefield would decide who he was to become. And because he pressed forward, because he endured, because he fought through every hardship, he became the ruler of an empire that spanned continents. You must learn to face your own battles the same way. Stop seeking comfort. Stop hoping for a safe escape. Every time you face adversity, you will be forced to choose. Will you run, or will you stand and fight? Will you shrink from the pain, or will you move toward it? Will you take the path forward, through the fire, through the darkness, through the storm? Understand this. You will never be ready. There is no perfect time. There is no perfect condition. There will always be obstacles, always be struggles, always be moments where everything seems impossible. But those moments are not meant to break you. They are meant to forge you. The only way to transform, to rise, to become something greater than you are now, is to go through the challenges. You must not only endure them, you must embrace them. Every battle you face, every storm you weather, will make you stronger. It will make you sharper. It will make you more dangerous. So go through. When the world pushes you down, when your body screams for rest, when your soul is exhausted, do not retreat. Do not surrender. You must keep moving forward, one step at a time, until you break through. The world will break the weak. The world will swallow those who shrink back. But the world will bow to those who march forward, unyielding, relentless, and unstoppable. So I ask you now, as the darkness rises and the storm intensifies, will you turn back, or will you move through? The only way forward is through. There is no other way. And there it is. The choice is yours. The path has been laid before you, and now it's up to you to walk it. The world will try to pull you back. It will tempt you with comfort, with distractions, with mediocrity. But you are not of the world. You are a part of something greater, the GrimFace Movement, a brotherhood and sisterhood of warriors who refuse to fall victim to the chaos. So if you've been inspired, if you've been called to rise above, to embrace the darkness and build yourself from the ground up, don't wait. Stand up. It's time to restore what the world has lost. It's time to bring back the principles of self-discipline, self-accountability, and honor. And it starts with you. Thank you for being here, for returning, for joining. This movement is only as strong as the warriors who stand in it. And you are the future. Remember this, the battle is never over. But as long as you keep moving forward, as long as you keep your eyes on the horizon and your feet on the ground, you will never be defeated. Keep your face grim, keep your soul sharp, and never, ever surrender. We'll see you in the next one. Until then, keep grinding. The GrimFace Movement is just getting started.